guys, David Clayton again from GuitarBreakdown.com, and today we're going to break down another Guthrie Govan lick. This comes from a video that was uploaded on YouTube a little while ago. It was a clinic he did, and I believe it was called Guthrie Speaks Part 2. It was a clinic that was split into two parts, and actually, funny enough, I saw this quite a while ago, and I wanted to do, I bookmarked it, and I wanted to do a lesson on this melodic minor idea that he did. And funny enough, when I uploaded the Michael Landau lick recently, a subscriber that's been following us for a while, and I thank you for that, named Lydian7LC, suggested the same lick. So it's funny that if we had a contest, he would have been a winner of what our next video would have been. So thank you for that suggestion, and it was definitely already on our radar. It's a really cool little idea and lick. And we're going to break this down. We're going to go note for note and show you what it is. It's basically just a melodic minor idea, and it's sequenced in a certain way that it kind of sounds kind of jazzy. Melodic minor kind of tends to do that. And it has a few little chromatic ideas in it and arpeggio ideas, and we're going to break that down, and I'm going to hopefully show you some ideas incorporating that technique into your own playing so that you can get this lick up and running in your own playing. So I hope you guys enjoy this lesson, and I will be back in a second. Thanks. Alright, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the melodic minor scale. If you're familiar with this already, you might want to skip ahead a little bit, but we're going to try and quickly break down what the melodic minor scale is for those that aren't familiar with it. Basically, there's two ways people think about this, and I tend to think about it the second way that I'll show you. The first way is basically you have an A minor scale, A natural minor scale, which is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, all natural notes. So it's really the relative minor to C major. So you have, okay? So what melodic minor, you can think of it as a minor scale with a raised sixth and a raised seventh. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but you raise that a half step. And then also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you raise that a half step. So instead of this, you have this. Okay, so that's one way of looking at it, and that basically gives you instead of the notes, all natural notes, you have an A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. Again, that's your raised sixth and raised seventh. Now, another way of looking at that is a major scale with a minor third. So basically, a major scale would be A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. But you could think of it as A, B, instead of C sharp, you lower that a minor third, or a half step to a minor third. A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. Now I tend to think of it that way because it's only one note different from a major scale, and that's kind of somehow the logic I had when I first learned it. I associated it with a major scale. But realistically, if you're thinking of a minor scale or playing this over a minor chord, and there's a bunch of different scenarios that you'll play this, but if you're thinking of playing it over an A minor chord, you probably should think of it as an A minor scale with a raised sixth and seventh degree. In the end, it really doesn't matter how you think about it because you're playing the same notes, and as long as you understand the tonalities that you're getting out of it, a raised third, you're getting basically your minor third, you got your root, your ninth, root 9, minor third, fourth or 11th, you have your fifth, then you have a major sixth and a major seven, and then the root. As long as you understand those degrees and the tonalities and how they'll sound over a chord, you'll be fine. So think of it however you want to think about it. And I will show you two patterns of this real quick. What you should do is, just like the pentatonic scale or any other scale, you should try and find the 5 patterns of this and the chord shapes that are associated with it. So we will talk about that in a second. All right, so let's go over the two scale patterns that I want to show you with this melodic minor scale. Melodic minor to me has always been kind of like a strange shape because there's a lot of whole steps in a row, and it makes for patterns that are slightly different than your normal minor or major scale pattern. So these two patterns start on the same note, and essentially they're the same thing with slightly different variations in the way you're going to finger it. So again, you kind of choose which pattern you like best. I mean, the best thing to do is learn as many patterns as you can so that you're free of even thinking about, what you're doing. So the first pattern starts with your second finger on the 5th fret of the E string. Then you play the 7th fret of the E string. Then you play the 3rd fret of the A string to the 5th fret and 7th fret of the A string. So that's... Then you play the 4th, 6th, and 7th fret on the D string. So that first octave is... You can actually go down to this note, which is your major 7th, which is the G sharp. So... And that's your first octave. Then the second octave is going to be on the G string. You're going to play the 4th, 5th, and 7th. So that's... Then you're going to play the 5th and 7th on the B string. And then 4, 5, 7 on the E string. So the whole thing is... Now, if you look at that pattern, you kind of have, after you have this going on, you have these two strings that are exactly the same. So that might help you to visualize it. You have this string, which is, with your fingers, you have 1, 3, 4 of your fingers. Then you have 1, 2, 4. Then you have 2, 4, and 1, 2, 4. So if you can look at that shape and see that those two are the reverse of one another, and then when you skip the string, that's exactly the same pattern. So that may help you to visualize that. And then of course the bottom string is the same as the top. So this string, the G string, and the top string, the high E string, are all the same fingering patterns. So that's the first shape. The second shape, I play it this way, with 1, 2, 3, with those fingers. You could play it with 1, 3, 4 if you want. But it's basically the 5th fret, 7th fret, 8th fret. So, and that's on the E string. On the A string, you play 5, 7, 9. Then on the D string, you play 6, 7, 9. So that whole thing is... Now what you can do here is you can slide your pinky up to the 10th fret so now you had a 3-note per string scale, but this kind of turns it into a 4-note on that string. So you slide up you go from 6, 7, 9, slide up a half step to 10. Then on this string you play the 7th fret and the 9th fret. Then on the B string, that was the G string. On the B string, you play 7, 9, 10. And then on the E string, you play 7, 8, 10. So again, these two kind of have the opposite fingering patterns. You have 1, 3, 4, then 1, 2, 4. Then a 2-note thing on this string, then a 4-note thing where you're sliding down. And this kind of reminds me of a diminished thing where it's a half step, a whole step, and a half step. So you have your half step, whole step thing going on. So those are the two patterns I wanted to show you, and they're, again, the starting and ending point is only 1 note different, and then this note here. But they're two completely different shapes, and it really depends on what you feel comfortable with fingering-wise. And Guthrie, basically, it comes right out of that pattern, except he starts on this E note. Now, if you look at this scale, again, starting on your A note and going one note, playing all on the E string, you basically have A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. And if you look at that, this is where I'm saying where those half step and whole steps, there's a lot of whole steps in a row. So you have A, you have a whole step here, A to B, then B to C, you have a half step. Then you have whole steps pretty much the rest of the way. From C to D is a whole step, D to E is a whole step, E to F sharp is a whole step, F sharp to G sharp is a whole step, and G sharp to A is a half step. So those whole steps, there's a lot of space between all those notes. And that's one thing that you'll start seeing maybe a diminished pattern in there. I don't know, maybe that's just me. But anyway, so that's the idea of those two scales. Again, I would suggest finding all the patterns, all 5 patterns if you want, or all 7 patterns, I should say, and find the fingerings that you feel most comfortable with, and then just really start practicing those, sequencing them, practicing with the metronome and all. And all right, so let's move on to the actual lick itself.